The Top 10 Stupidest Things Ever Said by Democrats, Part 2.
Mr. Reagan.
All right, before we start, I've got a great new sponsor for the show, Gold Co. If you want to diversify your portfolio, protect your savings, safeguard your retirement, try investing in gold with Gold Co. Go to MrReaganLikesGold.com or call 844-696-GOLD or click on the link in the description below. Back in 2020, I produced a video titled The Top 10 Stupidest Things Ever Said by Democrats. This is my most viewed video, and it's been 5 years, so I thought we definitely need to do another one. That original list had some absolute bangers.
We Democrats know so much, that is true. And we have to kind of tell everybody how smart we are.
Tell everybody how smart we are. Tell everybody how smart we are.
And my Aunt Bee has walked by that picture at least 1,000 times, remarked that he had high cheekbones, like all of the Indians do.
Don't let anybody tell you that it's corporations and businesses that create jobs.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
I've now been in 57 states. I think one left to go.
It depends upon what the meaning of the word is. Yes.
My fear is that the whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
Absolute gold. But those 10 were just the tip of the proverbial iceberg. There is an endless well of Democrat genius to draw from. It's the gift that keeps on giving. And now for the new Top 10 Stupidest Things Ever Said by Democrats. In one moment. First, I have to talk to you about my amazing sponsor. Do you ever feel like your body's stress switch is permanently stuck in the on position, like you can't shut your mind off at night? That was me, seriously. But then I discovered what was really happening. It wasn't just stress, it was a magnesium deficiency. That's when I discovered Magnesium Breakthrough from Bioptimizers. This changed everything. Within days of taking it, I noticed I was falling asleep faster, waking up refreshed, and I was handling daily stress much better. What makes Magnesium Breakthrough different? Well, most supplements, they only contain 1 or 2 types of magnesium. Magnesium Breakthrough delivers all 7 forms that your body needs, all in one capsule. And this balances your stress response and supports your sleep quality. The results speak for themselves. Over 1,500 5-star reviews from people who have reclaimed their calm, their sleep, their energy. And right now, you can save 10% when you go to bioptimizers.com/Mr. Reagan and use code Mr. Reagan. They even offer a full 365-day guarantee, so there's 0 risk to try it. Don't just manage stress, break through it with Magnesium Breakthrough. Again, that's bioptimizers.com/Mr. Reagan and use the code Mr. Reagan. And if you subscribe, not only will you get amazing discounts and free gifts, you will make sure that your monthly supply is guaranteed. All right, now let's get into the new Top 10 Stupidest Things Ever Said by Democrats. And by 10, I of course mean 12. Number 12, Howard Dean, Hiya.
We're going to South Carolina and Oklahoma and Arizona and North Dakota and New Mexico. And we're going to California and Texas and New York. And we're going to South Dakota and Oregon and Washington and Michigan. And then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House. Yeah!
It wasn't a yell, it wasn't a cheer, it was something primal, like a mating call for deranged progressives. The Howard Dean scream was so unbelievably cringe that it actually completely destroyed his entire presidential campaign. The scream has mostly been forgotten by the American public today, but among those who remember, it's embedded in lore as one of the most hilariously tragic moments in American political history. Number 11, Joe Biden, you gotta keep punching.
The Me Too movement has forced a cultural reckoning around the issue of sexual violence and harassment against women in America. Are there specific actions that you would take early in your administration to address this problem?
No man has a right to raise a hand to a woman, and so we have to just change the culture, period, and keep punching at it and punching at it and punching at it. It will be a big, no, I really mean it. It's a gigantic issue.
The audience actually laughed. This was the Democrat primary debate. Everyone in that audience was a Democrat. And look at Camela holding it in. Guys, this was before the dementia. The crazy thing was that it was after this performance that the puppeteers at the top of the Democrat Party, the guys pulling the strings, they went, "That is the guy we want." Really? And they wonder why we think the 2020 election might have been rigged. Joe Biden was also at that time famous for a lot of other viral moments, including the following.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Speak softly and carry a big stick. End of quote. I promise you, the president has a big stick. I promise you.
Number 10, Jill Biden. You answered every question, Joe.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the... And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Lie! Yes.
One might think, after hearing this, that Joe Biden had just graduated from kindergarten. You used your words, Joey. You didn't even drool on the podium. When your own wife is surprised that you answered questions, maybe the job of president is a little too ambitious. Of course, the Democrat pivot was putting Camela in the race, so clearly Joe is not the only intellectually compromised member of the Democrat Party. Number 9, Daron Kendrick. What is a coyote?
Look at this dummy. This girl, Daron Kendrick, said, did real Donald Trump, which is our president, just say 545 kids they can't find their parents for came over through cartels and coyotes? How the helicopter does a coyote bring a whole human across the border? She can't escape this one. How does a coyote bring a whole human across the border? Lord, stop talking. Final debate.
Daron Kendrick is a Democrat state representative from Georgia. This is not some random lefty on TikTok. This is an actual elected official. This woman writes legislation. She votes on laws. I mean, even if you don't know what a coyote is in the smuggler sense, even if you really thought that Trump meant the animal, wouldn't you stop and think, well, that doesn't make any sense. I wonder what Trump meant by that. And then look it up. Forget voter ID laws. We might need legislator IQ laws. And I'm not even sure I'm joking. Number 8, Don Lemon, maybe a black hole.
What if it was hijacking or terrorism or mechanical failure or pilot error? But what if it was something fully that we don't really understand? A lot of people have been asking about that, about black holes and on and on and on. That's what people are saying. I know it's preposterous, but is it preposterous, you think, Mary?
Yes, Don Lemon. Yes, it is preposterous. Why would you even ask that? This is the guy who once mocked Donald Trump for claiming to have achieved a perfect score on a rudimentary cognitive test, and then whilst describing said test, inadvertently failed the test.
When do you take that? That looks like something for middle school.
Well, you take that when there is some issue or some concern about your cognitive ability.
What were the animal shapes?
Well, it's a lion, a hippo, and a camel.
Isn't that a rhino in the middle?
A rhino.
You don't even know a hippo from a rhino.
As a formerly famous, openly gay black man, the only black hole Don Lemon should be talking about is the vacuous space where his career once was. You guys thought I was going to say something else, didn't you? Get your mind out of the gutter. Number 7, Camela Harris, The Passage of Time.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs. And there is such great significance to the passage of time.
Camela has this incredible talent for saying absolutely nothing in the most grandiose way possible. Camela was well known for her word salads, but this one was such a perfect example that it became a prominent part of my uber viral Camela Harris campaign ad parody.
I take insignificant things and I discuss them as if they're significant. And I believe that exploring the significance of the insignificant is in itself significant.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time. right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time, and there is such great significance to the passage of time.
If there was a museum of dumb political moments, this clip would be one of their star attractions. You know, actually, that's a great idea. Somebody has to make that happen. But Camela is not just rhetorically disabled, she's also geographically impaired.
The United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea.
Remember, guys, this woman was one fall down the stairs away from becoming president. Number 6, Katanji Brown Jackson. I'm not a biologist.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
I can't.
You can't?
Not in this context.
So
I'm not a biologist.
This was such a monumentally stupid thing to say that it actually sparked an entire documentary film. This is someone who wants to interpret the Constitution and she can't define half the human population. If you need a biology degree to tell the difference between a man and a woman, I'm pretty sure you should not be judging cases on civil rights or healthcare or literally anything. And this woman was confirmed. She is now a full-fledged Supreme Court justice. But this is what happens when you're more worried about getting canceled than telling the truth. We now have Supreme Court justices who are afraid to say what a woman is. Number 5, Maxine Waters, the Obama blackmail database.
The president has put in place an organization that contains the kind of database that no one has ever seen before in life. And that database will have information about everything on every individual in ways that it's never been done before. And whoever run for president on the Democratic ticket have to deal with that. They're going to have to go down with that database and the concerns of those people because they can't get around it. And he's been very smart. I mean, it's very powerful what he's leaving in place. And I think that's what any Democratic candidate is going to have to deal with.
Maxine Waters, a woman who has held public office since the invention of electricity, actually said out loud that Barack Obama had created a massive blackmail database. Now, Maxine seemed to be bragging about this like Obama was some sort of genius, but that's not a flex, Maxine. That's a confession. First rule of Blackmail Club, you don't talk about Blackmail Club. And Maxine is not the only Democrat to get giddy about abusing the power of the federal government.
He's taking these shots, this antagonism, this taunting to the intelligence community.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you.
And Maxine is not the only Democrat who has exposed a dark secret of the Democrat Party.
We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
And this isn't even the first time that Maxine Waters has exposed something that she really should have kept quiet about. She once stated publicly that she intended to nationalize American oil companies, exactly what Venezuela did, destroying the country's economy.
And guess what this liberal would be all about? This liberal will be all about socializing, would be about basically taking over and the government running all of your companies.
Maxine Waters is the Democrat Party's crazy drunk aunt. She talks way too loud and she can't keep a secret. Nobody really wants her there, but nobody has the heart to tell her to leave. Number 4, AOC, they're stealing bread.
Why is this uptick in crime happening? Let's really think about it. Maybe this has to do with the fact that people aren't paying their rent and are scared to pay their rent. And so they go out and they need to feed their child and they don't have money. So you maybe have to, they're put in a position where they feel like they either need to shoplift some bread or go hungry that night.
What you got, bruh? Let me see what you got.
It's so weird how these starving mothers all look like teenage boys, and how bread looks so much like Louis Vuitton handbags and $300 Air Jordans. No, AOC, no one is stealing bread. They're stealing Nikes. They're looting Chanel boutiques. You know, honestly, picking the best AOC quote was pretty tough. I chose this one because it's not just stupid, it's infuriating. This is what we call willful ignorance. But as I said, this is not her only brilliant take.
When someone says that it's too hard to do a green space that grows yucca instead of cauliflower or something, what you're doing is that you're taking a colonial approach to environmentalism.
We're here in Kansas City to rally for Brent Welder. We're gonna flip this seat red in November.
I am told this is a garbage disposal. I've never seen a garbage disposal. I never had one in any place I've ever lived. It is terrifying.
There are so many brilliant AOC takes that I once made an entire compilation video just for her. Number 3, Nancy Pelosi, the wrap-up smear.
We call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, you call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you write it, and they'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this, so they have that validation that the press reported the smear, and then you merchandise it. And then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear that we made. And it's a tactic.
I love it when Democrats accidentally admit to the very corruption they pretend doesn't exist. It's like watching one of those scenes in a Bond film where the villain explains his evil plot just before the final act. Except this is real life. Number 2, Brian Williams. Bloomberg could have given every American $1 million.
But you see it as a possibility if he wants to spend $1 billion beating this guy, he could do it.
Absolutely. Somebody tweeted recently that actually with the money he spent, he could have given every American $1 million.
I've got it. Let's put it up on the screen. When I read it tonight on social media, it kind of all became clear. Bloomberg spent $500 million on ads. U.S. population, 327 million. Don't tell us if you're ahead of us on the math. He could have given each American $1 million and have had lunch money left over. It's an incredible way of putting it.
It's an incredible way of putting it. It's true. It's disturbing. It does suggest, what we're talking about here, which is there's too much money in politics.
$500 million divided by 330 million people is not $1 million per person. It's $1.50. This is like third grade math. Ladies and gentlemen, let me try to provide the appropriate context for this video. Brian Williams used to be NBC's top anchor. This guy was considered one of America's most reliable newsmen, and his guest, Mara Gay, is on the editorial board of the New York Times. And yet somehow this woman has never seen a calculator. I mean, if there is a better example of the disastrous consequences of DEI policies, I don't know what it is. This is not even a math error. This is like math Chernobyl. And now the moment we've all been waiting for, the number one stupidest thing ever said by Democrats. Number 1, Hank Johnson, Guam.
This is a island that at its widest level is 12 miles from shore to shore, and at its smallest level 7 miles between one shore and the other. Is that correct?
I don't have the exact dimensions, but to your point, sir, I think Guam is a small island.
And I don't know how many square miles that is. Do you happen to know?
I don't have that figure with me, sir. I can certainly supply it to you if you'd like.
Yeah, my fear is that the whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
We don't anticipate that.
I know that this was the number one clip in my first video, but honestly, I think no matter how many times I make these videos, the number one video will always have to be that Hank Johnson clip because it is just too dang funny. He thought the island would capsize. Let's think about this for just 1 minute. That means that Hank Johnson thinks that islands float. He imagines islands like icebergs. And I mean, I get it. I think that we all imagine islands are like this when we are small children. It's not actually intuitive to know that islands are actually the tips of volcanic mountains underwater, but we're all taught this in elementary school. And look, I imagine that sure, some people might have been sick that day and for whatever reason lived into old age, never finding out what islands are. But this is a sitting member of Congress. How is this possible? This video will always crack me up because it's amazing. Of course, there are thousands more stupid things that Democrats have said over the years. Let me know what your favorites are in the comments section below. That's it for me, and remember, it's not that our liberal friends are ignorant, it's just they know so much that is not so. Good night.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars. And it's been said if we lose that war, and in so doing lose this way of freedom of ours, history will record with the greatest astonishment that those who had the most to lose did the least to prevent its happening. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.